Hello friends, welcome to English Dueta YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss one of the most beautiful metaphysical poems, To His Coy Mistress. The poem is written by Andrew Marvell. As we know, Andrew Marvell was one of the well-known metaphysical poets. The exact date of the composition of the poem is not known, but it is believed that the poem was written in the decade of 1650s. It was first published in the year 1681 after the death of Andrew Marvell in the year 1678. Before we discuss the poem, let's have a brief look on the biographical details of the poet. Andrew Marvell was born on 31st March 1621 and died on 16th August 1678. His education was done at Trinity College, Cambridge. His notable works include To His Coy Mistress, The Garden, and Horatian Ode upon Cromwell's Return from Ireland. Andrew Marvell is known for his odd writing style, and this poem can be considered as the best example of his writing style. The poem is written in a very pretty romantic way. The poem presents multiple themes of love, romance and time. It also presents the aphorism Carpe Diem. Now Carpe Diem means living the life to the fullest. The poem contains 46 lines having 3 stanzas. The first stanza contains 20 lines from line 1 to 20. The second stanza contains 12 lines from line 21 to 32. And the last stanza contains 14 lines from line 33 to 46. The poem rhymes in couplets and the rhyme scheme is AABB. As the poem begins, the speaker is talking about the woman of his dreams. He has made many attempts to court her, but she has shown no interest. The poet calls her mistress coy. Let me explain you the meaning of coy. Coy means shy or timid, or we can say bashful. But the question is, why poet has called her mistress coy or shy? Well, to understand that, we have to go through the poem. So let us begin the reading of the poem. Had we but word enough and time, this coyness, lady, were no crime. We would sit down and think which way to walk and pass our long love's day. With these opening lines, the poet sets out the tone of the entire poem. He begins with an argument to his mistress. If we had all the time in the world, your coyness or shyness to accept my love would not be a problem. If we had enough time to spend on the earth, we would sit together and decide where to go and how to spend our day showing love and affection to each other. Thou by the Indian Ganges side shouldst rubies find. I by the tide of Humber would complain. In these lines, there are references of 2 rivers flowing in 2 different countries. One is Gange of India and the other is Humber of England. The poet says to his coy mistress, if we had endless time, you would walk by the river Gange and find rubies there. And I would walk by the river Humber and make complaints for your non-acceptance of my love. But the problem is, we don't have that much time. I would love you 10 years before the flood, and you should, if you please, refuse till the conversion of the Jews. In these lines, the references are taken from the Bible. If we go through the Bible, we find references of 2 events. One is of the great flood that would wash away everything on the earth which is corrupt and sinful, to make the earth once again in its pure state, that is, the state of its creation. The second one is of the total conversion of the Jews into Christianity in the future on the judgment day. The poet says to his shy lady that if they had enough time at their disposal, he would have started loving her 10 years before the great flood, while she could refuse to satisfy his desire of love-making until the day of judgment. My vegetable love should grow vaster than empires and more slow. 100 years should go to praise thine eyes and on thy forehead gaze. The poet says that if he were not restricted by a normal lifespan, he would be able to show her how eternal and deep his love is. His slow-growing love would gradually become bigger than the largest empires. He would spend 100 years praising her eyes and gazing at her forehead. 200 to adore each breast, but 30,000 to the rest, and age at least to every part, and the last age should show your heart. The poet is ready to spend 200 years to admire each of her breasts. He would not mind to dedicate 30,000 years to appreciate the rest of her physical beauty. He would not even least hesitate to give an entire era of human history to love her and admire every part of her body intimately. And after doing all this, he would present her his heart. For lady, you deserve this state, nor would I love at lower rate. The poet also tells her that with this limitless time, he would never tire of her resistance and rejections of his advances, because she is the lady who deserves this, and he is ready to spend all the eternity to win her heart. The first stanza ends here. In the second stanza, the poet sadly speaks of the brevity of life, personifying time in a Titan-like fashion. But at my back I always hear time's winged chariot hurrying near, and yonder all before us lie deserts of vast eternity. Here the poet says that he is always well aware of the time the way it flies by. For them, the future will be a vast, unending desert of time. Thy beauty shall no more be found, nor in thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Then warmth shall try that long preserved virginity. With the passing of time, your beauty will be lost. The day would definitely come when you will die, and in your marble vault, that is, in your grave, you would not be able to hear my songs in praise of you. Worms will take away the virginity you so carefully protected during life. And your quaint honor turn to dust, and into ashes all my lust. The grave is a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. The poet says that at that time, when you will be lying dead in your grave, your quaint honor, quaint means strange, your false ego or honor will turn into dust, and my desire will turn into ashes. The grave may be a quiet private place, but you cannot do any love making there. In this stanza, the poet wants to convey to her coy mistress that in death there is no love or romance. He tries to remind her how short human life is, that their time together is brief, and they must hurry to enjoy one another before it is over. Now therefore, while the youthful hue sits on thy skin like a morning dew, and while thy willing soul transpires at every pore with instant fires, now let us part us while we may, and now like amorous birds of prey. Therefore, while you are still young, beautiful and full of passions, let us do love making like lovesick birds, because this is the time when we can do that. Rather at once our time devour than languish in his slow chapped power. Let us roll all our strength and all our sweetness up into one ball, and tear our pleasures with rough strife through the iron gates of life. The poet says to his coy mistress that let us be intimate and devour time in love making before time eats away us hungrily and destroy us. Let us come closer and put together our strength and our sweetness and use it as a weapon against the iron gates of life. Thus, though we cannot make our son stand still, yet we will make him run. The speaker ends his argument by saying his mistress, although he is unable to stop time, if they were together, they would be so happy that time would fly by. They may not be able to defeat time in this way, but at least they can give tough fight and make it difficult for the time to defeat them. The poem can be called a powerful love story full of romantic and self-sacrificing elements where the speaker is ready to do anything for his lady love. Andrew Marvell is a master of sarcasm and irony. The metaphors used in this poem are great declarations of love. The poet uses many death metaphors in the second stanza. Thy marble vault shall sound my echoing song. Warm shall try that long preserved virginity. Into ashes all my lust, and the grave is a fine and private place. These vividly worded metaphors lend irony as the speaker uses the threat of death to love his lady. To His Coy Mistress is a structured poem written in iambic tetrameter. The poem rhymes in couplets. Though it was published more than 300 years ago, its theme still resonates today. Friends, this is all for now. I hope this explanation has been useful to you. Wish you all the very best for your upcoming examination. Goodbye and take good care of yourself.